job and do the things you needed to do. The thing is that nowadays, with the expansion of the automation skills is something which is needed more than ever. You can automate, you can do your day-to-day activities in a more quick and efficient way. So if you want to proceed a new role, expand your knowledge, or go a step forward, then DevNet Associate, DevNet Core, and in general, any sort of automation exam is a must. In all my presentations, I try to present this specific slide because it gives a more holistic view of all the certifications that Cisco provides. I don't want to spend a lot of time. If you want to take a picture of the slide, go for it. Over here is a more compact view of all the DevNet and automation certification that Cisco provides. So we've got the DevNet Associate, which contains the associate, the base level skills that somebody needs to have in the DevNet space. Then we've got all the specializations, which they are categorized on enterprise security, depending on your job role and depending on what exactly you're working on. Also, we've got the core exam, which contains the core skills and knowledge that somebody needs to have in the DevNet space. And if you are brave enough to take the next step, we also have the DevNet Expert Lab. Recently, we introduced a certification roadmap. So since the technology is moving so fast, we didn't want to wait 2 or 3 or 4 years to update our blueprints. So the thing we are doing, we are reviewing our blueprints on a yearly basis in order to include, exclude, add, or take out something which is new, upcoming, or has been end of life. So the thing that I would like to say is, before you start preparing for a specific certifications, check the roadmap. The roadmap is available in cisco.com/go/search roadmap in order to see when the blueprint will be refreshed. Because the thing we actually do is we show to the public the changes that we will do 3 months in advance, and after 3 months, we go and change the exam and we bring out the blueprint changes. We do not have, let's say, any period that the old blueprint and the new blueprint coexist, but the roadmap the roadmap is defined, and you can easily see when the new blueprint will go live and when the new blueprint will be tested. For more information about the blueprint, you can grab us in the lounge, and we can give you more information. Regarding the changes, the version control shows you if a change is big or small. So if we change the version from 1 to 2, or for 2 to 3, it means the changes are big. Usually, if the changes are product name changes or software version or anything like that, usually the changes will be from 2.1 to 2.2, or from 1.1 to 1.2. Now, in this section, I will show you some super basic things that will help you understand and be able to read the blueprint as you should, because the blueprint is like your Bible. The blueprint contains everything that you need to know and everything that you need to prepare. So in this section, we're gonna study the blueprint. I will show you how to read the blueprint, and I will show you how to understand the blueprint. Plus, I will show you how to understand the depth of knowledge that you need to have in each topic and in each task. We will also show some examples but we will see it from the knowledge depth perspective and not the technical perspective. The key thing and the key takeaway from this session is not to teach you something new from a technology perspective. The thing I want you to take away is to understand how deep you need to go in each topic and how to prepare. So the DevNet Associate blueprint, you can easily find it in this URL. And as you can see, the blueprint is separated in sections. Okay, the first thing over here, the domain, contains a high-level explanation of what exactly this blueprint will cover. The percentage over here, it shows how many questions, percentage-wise, you expect to get from this section. In this case, 15%. DevNet Associate, it's a 100 question exam. So from domain 4, you expect 15 questions from this section. 4.1 is the task. It's a description of what you will be asked in this area. And a subtask is a closer specification of the task. Now, as you can see over here, I've circled some verbs in Cisco, and this applies not only for DevNet Associate, but this applies for all of our exams across the board. We use something which is called cognitive complexity. What is that? Is a way to justify the depth of knowledge using verbs. So, for describe, we usually ask questions which are memorization. Either you know it or not. Not trivia, but memorization. So when you study these sort of things. Identify will go even higher, but I will explain in more depth. As I mentioned before, the first verb in each task sets the tone and sets the depth of knowledge that you need to have in this specific topic. You will see different verbs in the blueprint. As an example, describe and explain. This, when you see describe and explain, you need to go shallow. You just need to read, study, and understand the specific concepts. We will not ask you something complex. It's basic study, basic memorization, and usually is knowledge that you read. If we go a step further, compare. Usually in this using this specific verb, we compare two different things. There will definitely be a comparison. This goes a little bit deeper because you will need to compare two different things. If we go even higher, even deeper, construct, utilize, apply, and interpret, we will usually ask you to use your knowledge in order to create something, in order to implement something, in order to construct something. You will need to have hands-on experience for topics like this, and we will definitely ask you to use your knowledge in order to put something together. And if we go a step further, troubleshoot or identify. In troubleshoot topics, something is broken. You will definitely have a full-blown scenario. Most probably you will have some code where you will need to tear it apart, find what exactly is not working, and fix it. And identify, similar case, you will have a full-blown scenario with a lot of moving parts where you will need to tear it apart and try and find what it's asked. So easy topics, or at least no huge depth. A little bit more hard, something that needs to be implemented and configured, and let's say the deepest knowledge, where the questions you expect to have, the questions that you will expect to have, it will be more difficult. Now, the type of questions that you expect to see on the exams are multiple choice, pick ones or pick twos, drag and drops, either graphical drag and drops where we will provide you a piece of code. Some things will be blanked and we will ask you to drag and drop the code or the commands or the statements onto the code in order to implement or complete XYZ. And fill in the blanks, although we try to move a little bit away from this, you might still see it on an exam. Plus, the new thing that you will see on exams are labs. We're still under development. We have already implemented in exams like CCNA and Enterprise Core, but we're still in development for DevNet-Associate. Now let's see a few examples. The thing which is super important for me is not the technical aspect of the questions, at least not at this specific point. The thing I want you to understand is the verb, the thing we actually, the thing we explained previously, and how this specific verb translates into a question. Okay. In this example, describe the functionality of these IP services, DHCP, DNS, SNMP, and NTP. As mentioned before, this is straight from the book, straight reading. Okay, either you know it or not. There's no actual complexity in these questions. Is pure knowledge from study. In this case, which protocol synchronizes the clock between computer systems? NTP. We may mix and match it a little bit. We might say what NTP does in a network environment, or what kind of service do you need so all the PCs in a network are synchronized with each other. These sort of things, I'm just giving you a few examples. Again, we do not ask complex questions in described topics. It's pure study, pure memorization. If you've got any questions as we go on, we will definitely have some time in the end, but please raise your hand and ask your questions. We've got a small group. Let's take advantage of it. Compare questions. Compare different API styles. As you can see, we've got two ways to implement these sort of questions. Either we will have a STEM. What is the difference between REST and RPC APIs? In this case, we will ask only about the differences and similarities about REST and RPC. We will not ask anything specific as long as there is a parenthesis and something there is inside the parenthesis, we will ask only these things. So the one way to implement compare questions is either with a STEM and then ask a comparison. What is the difference between these two styles as a pick one or a pick two? Or another way to implement compare questions is through drag and drop. We will have some functionality, some options, then two categories, REST API and RPC APIs, and we ask the candidates to drag and drop the options on the correct API category. Construct questions. If you remember from the pyramid or from the diagram that I showed you before, construct, implement, apply, or interpret are on exactly the same category. In this specific case, I selected a graphical drag and drop example. Construct a Python unit test. As you see, we've got a code over here. Some things are blank from the code, and we ask the candidates to drag and drop the code, drag and drop the code from the side on the code in order to complete the Python unit test. Troubleshoot question. The troubleshoot question is a little bit more hard questions. So based on your studies, you will need to go a little bit deeper. Again, I do not want to drag your attention to the technical details. Let's say that the questions are wrong. Okay. I just want you to understand the depth of knowledge, how much you need to focus or how deep you need to go on your study for a troubleshoot task. In this case, troubleshoot scripts based on HTTP responses call requests and API documentation. In this specific case, we provide a code snippet. We say that a network engineer has developed a script to automate the provision of newly added devices. It was working fine, but when the engineer tried to implement it got 404 or error code. Let's try and take this specific question and tear it apart. Okay, we do have moving parts. We do have things that if they change, then the question, the answer will change. So the first thing is the exhibit, the coil. Okay, so we've got the coil, we've got one variable. What does the coil do? The coil has been developed to automate the provisioning of newly added devices. We've got a second variable. And the error, third variable. If the error was different, then most probably the answer would be different. If the script was different, then most probably the answer would be different. So a way for us to take this specific question, copy it, and create new questions is by taking these three variables and changing them. Okay, if I change the 404 error to a 500 or to something else, then the problem would focus on something else. So if you take the specific question, find the variables, and understand what is the problem and what are the variables, tear it apart and understand it, then you will be able to answer the question. Do you have any questions? Go for it. Yeah. Previous one. Here you go. In this case, I do not want you to pay attention on. Gotcha. So the thing in these sort of questions, the thing we will do, we will provide you some options. Okay, some statements, some code, some expressions. Not all of them will be used. Okay. You drag it, you drop it, and then you continue. Please. Yeah, sure. This one? Sweet. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, based on your question, you're asking if you would know beforehand if the changes will be major or minor. Good point. Now, I will go back, but I just want to explain. As mentioned before, if the changes are minor, then you will see the version to move from 2.1 or 1.1, 1.0 to 1.1, from 2.1 to 2.2, etc. If the changes are major, then you will see a new number, a new version number from 2.2, 2.3, 1.6 to 2.0. Okay, so this is an identification that the changes are major. Now, based on the schedule, We do not expect for you to be, I don't know, magicians and say, you know what, the changes will be major or minor. The thing we always do, we give the candidates 3 months in advance in order to continue, in order to finish their studies before we bring a new version out. So, for example, as you can see over here, from November to January 2023, we have already reviewed security and enterprise. Security and enterprise exams, this includes the whole portfolio, right? Will be announced next month, and we will start test on the new updates the next month. So you will have from this queue to this queue 3 months in advance, 3 months period. If you have started your studies for the CCNA, or let's say for an exam which falls into this group, to complete them before the new blueprint kicks in. Sorry? Mm-hmm. Yep, the announcement. Yep. Yes. Yes. In order to make things a little bit easy for the candidates like yourself, the thing we will provide is not only a new blueprint, because you will need to take the old blueprint, the new blueprint, the version control, and sit down and compare it side by side. The thing we will provide, just to help you guys, is a detailed document that in domain one, we changed this to this, so the comparison will be there, right? But the thing is that even if you started your studies for the CCNA, okay, and the CCNA changes in 3 months, um, if the version indicates that the changes are not major, then the changes we expect is less than 20%. I know that when you start studying, 20% might sound huge, right? But believe me, that we try to keep the changes in minor revisions to minimum in order to not disturb people like yourself.